What is going on, Pats Nation? You guys already know who it is. Patriots Global here, back with another video. And in this one, we're going to be talking about how the Las Vegas Raiders have officially signed Patriots de facto general manager Dave Ziegler and Patriots offensive coordinator Josh McDaniels. Now, this news has been floating around for a couple of days. It's been speculation, but today it is finally confirmed. Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler are leaving to go ahead to the Raiders. Now, with that being said, what are their roles going to be? Now, Josh McDaniels is finally leaving to be a head coach, and I'm not going to lie, this one definitely surprised me a little bit. Out of all the teams the last several years that Josh McDaniels could have joined, it surprises me that he chooses the Raiders to be the team that he finally leaves New England for to become that head coach. Now, many have speculated over the last several years, since Josh McDaniels has declined year after year head coaching jobs, turned down the Colts head coaching job a few years ago at the last minute. Many people speculated that he was holding out to be the Patriots' next head coach, and obviously that is not the case. It actually looks like he decided to stay in New England, learn the ropes a little bit more from Bill Belichick about how to be a head coach, and is now finally ready to take that next step. Now, we really didn't hear much about Josh McDaniels as a head coach as we have the last several years. There really wasn't a high market for Josh McDaniels when it comes to head coaching vacancies this year. I believe the Raiders were really the only team that genuinely reached out to Josh McDaniels in order to make him a head coach. And again, that obviously surprises me when there's teams like the Texans, the Vikings, the Dolphins. Let's remember that not too long ago, the Carolina Panthers were looking for a head coach. The Bengals, not too long ago, were also looking for a head coach. The Detroit Lions. And after everything the Raiders have had to go through, all the adversity that the Raiders, as a franchise, have had to go through the last several years, it does surprise me that the Raiders are the team that McDaniels has chose to finally leave the Patriots. So with that being said, McDaniels will be the head coach now for the Raiders. Interestingly enough, the Patriots will be playing the Raiders this season also. Let's remember that at the end of the season, it was either between the Bengals and the Raiders, or rather the Chargers and the Raiders, and the winner of that final game in Week 18 would have determined who the Patriots would play in 2022. Obviously, the Raiders win that game. New England will now be playing them next season. Now, as for Dave Ziegler, he's going to be a guy that a lot of people aren't going to look much into, aren't going to give a lot of credit to, but Dave Ziegler really brought a lot to New England, and I think that this is actually going to be a much bigger loss than a lot of people realize. A lot of manpower has left New England from a coaching and personnel standpoint over the last several years. Now, like I mentioned earlier in this video, Dave Ziegler has been the Patriots' de facto general manager. What does that mean? Essentially, that means that he is not the Patriots' straight-up general manager. Let's remember, Bill Belichick still contains those reins of New England's general manager, but he does still give some of that power to another member. Let's remember that he originally gave that to Nick Caserio before he left for the Texans. When he left for the Texans, Dave Ziegler stepped into Nick Caserio's place and kind of helped Bill Belichick out with those general manager duties. Now he'll be heading to Las Vegas to be the Raiders' all-time and full-time general manager. So basically, instead of having partial say with New England, he'll be having full say about roster moves. Now, interestingly enough, the Raiders were actually originally more interested in Dave Ziegler. This wasn't a situation where they were more interested in Josh McDaniels, and then Josh McDaniels looked to bring Dave Ziegler in. The Raiders were very interested in bringing in Dave Ziegler and have been interested in him for quite a while. It's been floated around that Dave Ziegler actually told the Raiders it's a package deal. You know, it's, you want me, you're also going to have to look into Josh McDaniels. You're going to have to bring on Josh McDaniels if you want me to join you as your full-time general manager. Now, it's probably destined that Dave Ziegler was going to leave the Patriots after last season, or last offseason rather. He was already being looked into for other general manager jobs. I know he had an interview with the Broncos last year. Ultimately, they went and signed somebody else. A year later, he got more interviews. So I think that at this point, he was looking to get out of New England. Now, I'll definitely be curious to see how this story continues to develop. Like I said, this is set in stone. Josh McDaniels, Dave Ziegler, they're leaving New England. But with that being said, reports did come out that if Josh McDaniels did become the head coach for the Raiders, that he would look into bringing other personnel with him. Now, this obviously isn't something surprising. Multiple coaches do this. You know, when offensive coaches, defensive coaches, positional coaches from other teams leave to be a head coach, a lot of times they'll bring some of the guys that they originally worked with them in an upgraded role. Brian Flores did this exact same thing, bringing Chad O'Shea and other guys when he originally left for Miami. Now, I do believe that there are some guys that Josh McDaniels will look into that are currently in-house for the New England Patriots, but I don't think he's going to take the majority of the Patriots staff with him, as where that's what we've seen former Belichick disciples do when they've been promoted to be a head coach. Unlike past years, New England has lost so much personnel over the last several years, like I mentioned before. You're losing Josh McDaniels now. You're losing Dave Ziegler. You lost Nick Caserio. You lost Brian Flores. You had lost Matt Patricia. You lost Chad O'Shea. You lost Joe Judge to be the head coach for the Giants. And it's sounding like Ivan Fears, Patriots running back coach, is also going to retire this offseason. That is a lot of personnel leaving New England. And it's not to say that the guys the Patriots have right now in-house behind those guys are bad, but they are very, very inexperienced. McDaniels has a lot of connections in the NFL, as he's been in the NFL as a coach for a very long time. You know, he was originally with the Patriots as a coach, then left to be a head coach for the Broncos, then came back to the Patriots, and now is going to be a head coach again. Throughout that time, he's picked up a lot of connections. I think he's going to look elsewhere, pulling pieces from several different teams that are going to be more prepared and much more experienced than the Patriots currently have in-house. Now, one thing I will definitely say to watch out for is something that we have seen several times when, again, former Belichick disciples leave to go coach somewhere else. Now, whether this is head coaching or whether this is from a general manager standpoint, those guys always bring in former Patriots. I mean, let's not forget that when Matt Patricia left for the Detroit Lions, people started calling them the New England Lions. When Nick Caserio went to be the full-time general manager for the Texans, the Patriots went during the offseason and traded both Marcus Cannon and Ryan Izzo to Houston. New England has a lot of pending free agents coming up, and I could see Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler looking to bring those guys in because they already have a history, they already have a rapport with those guys. So definitely watch out for bigger names, guys like, Dante Hightower. Guys like maybe even Devin McCourty. Maybe they even look to sign J.C. Jackson with the secondary concerns that the Raiders have. Now, with Josh McDaniels being the offensive mind that he is, I would definitely watch more of those offensive pieces when it comes to former Patriots. Maybe guys like Gunnar Olszewski, Jacoby Myers would be guys that Josh McDaniels decides that he wants to look into. A big name that I would not be surprised at all to be signed by the Raiders this offseason is Brandon Bolden, especially with how much Josh McDaniels has used Brandon Bolden, especially in 2021. Would not surprise me to see him get a bigger contract and go ahead and sign with the Raiders. This matchup between Dave Ziegler and Josh McDaniels, especially when it comes to a package deal, does not surprise me at all, as they have a really long history together, not just with the Patriots, but originally, Josh McDaniels actually hired Dave Ziegler when Josh McDaniels was the head coach for the Denver Broncos. Now, real quick, before we continue to get into this and what this means for the Patriots, how do they replace these guys, I want to give a big shout out to the sponsors of this video, betonline.ag, guys. There might be less football being played, but BetOnline has way more stuff that you can play for this playoff season. Now, from score totals, player performances, props, to even when the next fired coach is going to land, BetOnline is the #1 spot for all things NFL betting for 2022. And of course, being in a new year, that comes with a new updated desktop and mobile website. All you guys have to do is sign up today to receive your 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use the promo code CLNS50. Guys, they don't just have football. BetOnline also has other sports like basketball, hockey, boxing, UFC, and even your favorite Vegas casino games. Guys, this is BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts, and BetOnline, the fastest and easiest ways to wager on all your favorite sports. Now, as for who is going to replace Josh McDaniels, I'm not going to get too into that in this video because I'm going to be making an entire separate video digging into a few different candidates that I believe could take over for the New England Patriots as offensive coordinator. I really want to dive into that because this is a really interesting aspect that the Patriots could look into several different avenues to fill. Now, as for general manager, the Patriots are already doing their due diligence. They're already looking around for who is going to be that next general manager. Now, from what is expected, it looks like Elliott Wolf is just going to be the guy that gets promoted for New England. That would not surprise me whatsoever, but nothing is currently set in stone, and New England will still be looking out of house to see if there are better options at the general manager position. Now, not only are we going to see personnel changes within the New England Patriots players, but we are going to also see a lot of changes within the staff. There are a lot of holes New England needs to continue to fill, whether that's promotion or adding guys out of house. So it's going to be a long offseason, but there's definitely going to be changes that are going to be made for the 2022 season. What are your guys' thoughts on both of these guys leaving? Let me know in the comment section below. Remember to leave a big like on this video and subscribe to the channel for all of your New England Patriots news. But like always, I appreciate you guys for watching, and like always, go Pats.